Morning, guys. We're here at the Smith's local grocery store here in Rock Springs. Going to kind of give you guys a nutritional walkthrough of the grocery store, talk about what to shop for, what to be looking for, try to work on answering some questions that you guys may have regarding nutrition when we see some products come up. So yeah, tag along. Got Alex behind the camera here. We're going to go through and see if we can't help you guys eat a little better. So first thing, we just literally walked through the door, and to no surprise, Halloween's around the corner, but this is what they're putting right in front of your face, right, is all the Halloween candy, because that's what they're gonna try to push, which is kind of funny. That's the stuff that's pushed right now, is the candy. First thing you see when you walk in, right? We'll talk about what you see when you leave, right? Obviously, if you guys have been to the grocery store, which most of you have, right, they might have some discounted stuff up front, but flowers, all this stuff will be up here, right? And then right here is kind of where they also try to get you, right? Those front doors draw you in. It was right to the baked goods section, right? Breads, bakery, all the cupcakes, all that stuff. There are some things that we could talk about right here at the deli. In the deli, sometimes you guys are going to see there's like a smaller refrigerator. Now a bigger health food store like a Whole Foods, they're going to have a lot more of these type options. But you might have some pre-made stuff, right? On the other side, I know there's like some cheeses and some hummus and some of that stuff. Some of that stuff's fine options, right? And there's something you can do. But the biggest thing is, I just want you guys to notice, like, what are they trying to draw you and lure you into here? First thing you see when you come in. So again, and if you guys don't shop the deli often, right, sometimes there's some really good meats that you can get pre-cut for you. So I know a lot of times, like lunch meat, we'll see back in the other section, a lot of people don't remember that you can get your own lunch meat cut up here. We moved on to the produce. Okay, if you can make it past the baked goods, right, this is kind of the general rule of thumb we're going to tell people, is try to stick to the perimeter of the grocery store as much as you can. Okay, now some grocery stores, right, they're going to have different things, but some of them are going to have like an organic section where you can see just organic stuff, right? Right now this store doesn't have one set up, it doesn't look like, or at least it's not labeled. Okay, the biggest thing that you guys need to take into consideration on that is, okay, is it better for organic or not organic, right? A lot of times they're very small differences. Okay, I don't know nutritional value if it's going to make that much of a difference as far as like what you're getting, like macronutrient wise or anything like that. The biggest thing to take into consideration there is, if you're making these choices whether this is organic or not, it's probably a lot better choice than the donuts and the Pop-Tarts and those types of things that are in the middle aisles that we've talked about avoiding. So if you want to splurge and go for it, I'm sure it's not any worse than, it's not going to hurt you, right? But just know this would be, I'm more concerned about getting you eating apples first, not eating organic apples, okay? So one thing you commonly see with the vegetable area, right, and some of these things is some things are way more nutrient dense than others, right? What we're going to tell you guys for generic advice is try to eat a variety of colors, right? You can look right here, there's already, a lot of different colors, oranges, greens, reds, all that different stuff. If you can get the variety of colors, that's mainly going to get you all the micronutrients that you need that are important to you, okay? Now, some celery as good for you as some romaine lettuce, right? Different stuff. Like I said, what's going on here. Sure, celery is probably a little bit more water, not as nutrient dense, right, versus like a romaine. But the biggest thing to get across is, again, this section here on the side of the store is going to be a lot more beneficial than the middle lanes, and that this side, that you're trying to eat a variety of colors to get the full spectrum of micronutrients across the board, however you want to divvy it up, right? Again, don't only eat one, don't only eat the other, try to pick and mix and match, right? just want to stop real quick right here because we ran into some dressings that are probably better, a little bit better dressings for people. Common thing that people get carried away with is dressings and sauces and those types of things. I'm a guy that likes dressings and sauces, so I totally understand. Just make sure you guys are reading the label, right? One I'll recommend right now, this Tessemae's is really good, brand where me and Kyler really like, right? If you go and flip around the label and look at it, right, compared to maybe, if you were to take this one, take it across the store and compare it to the other one you normally pick up, right? The normal ranch, all that stuff. Check it out, make sure you pick those things up and read the labels, right? A lot of them might have more fat or added fat, right? Just because something maybe says like no sugar, right? But usually if they take sugar out, they're adding fat in, or they have extra sugar that you don't realize is in there. So we'll have a video available for you guys to where we can kind of break down how to read a label, how to show you guys, you know, what's in it exactly, and then also, you know, how labels can be also very misleading sometimes. So, okay, so I stopped real quick here, coming around the produce section, the vegetable section, to stop and talk about some of this stuff, right? Be considered this grocery store's healthy section of juices, right? Stuff that's a little more, probably a little higher dollar juice. And you know, they get you with the healthy labeling, you know, cold pressed, naked, you know, all the stuff, protein plus, you know, green machine, blue machine. Anyway, the biggest thing I want to say with juices is really be cautious of what you're drinking, right? Mainly juices are always going to be a lot higher in sugar than anything else. You know, if you were to go through and do your own juicing, right, without adding like stuff you'd be surprised about, you know, if I said right there, here, this is an apple, orange, coconut water. I mean, it's got 30 grams of sugar per serving, which is that whole bottle, 30 grams, you know, not the worst, I guess. It just depends on when you're drinking it, right? If you're using it for like a pre-workout to get some carbs, or post-workout for some carb replenishment. But just make sure you guys are reading the labels again and not falling into the category of, oh, just because the branding and the marketing is making it look healthy, it's the best choice for me. The majority of your protein, right? Okay, now I've had some people ask me, you know, some different things about protein. What's better, is chicken or beef or red meat, or, you know, which fish, right? We'll talk about some of this stuff right now in just a little bit more detail. So the biggest thing is like with the beef, right? Obviously there's a lot of stuff that's cut here in store. There's a lot of stuff that you can buy that's got the organic labels on it. Is it grass-fed, right? So like you can look right here, natural pork, natural beef, okay? I personally am a big believer in thinking that if I can get something that's grass-fed organic, it's going to be better for me overall, long-term, right? But I'm not above saving a few dollars, right, and eating something that's cut here in the butcher shop. You might be surprised about how good it actually is, and micro and macronutrient wise. But there's been some people to say that, you know, it's so much better for you. You're gonna get more like protein, right? Typically, that's not always the case, right? There's been a lot of other studies done that show it's just as good or just as micronutrient dense. It's mainly about some of the other stuff, the stuff that they're raised on eating, right? That's concerning. So rule of thumb when it comes to red meat, eat grass-fed organic if you can, okay? And then the other thing is wild game is going to be the number one. That's going to be the leanest, right, cleanest thing you can get your hands on if you can get your hands on that, okay? Okay, a lot of times the fish you guys should be eating is not the fish people are buying, right? A lot of times we see people buy like tilapia, some of these things that are very low nutrients. They're not going to give you much bang for your buck. They're kind of just like, bleh, you know, there's there. Okay, a lot also is not, that stuff's like basically farm raised in a pond or essentially, right? So think about if you're eating fish, right? Obviously fresh fish is best, but we live in Wyoming where there's not that much. So wild caught, right? Wild caught fish is going to be your best option as far as, it's kind of like the same thing as like eating that grass-fed beef, right? A wild caught fish is going to be better than like a lot of fish is, like I said, farm raised or even line caught, which is not as bad as that. But if you can, go wild, okay, with the fish, that'll be better. All right, so another thing that I wanted to stop here and check out was this fish section here. Again, being in Wyoming, we talked about not having a ton of fresh fish. One thing that we use, and you guys should try to incorporate too, is some of these tuna packets, right? They're great for snacks. They're great to add a little protein to your meal if you need to. I really like these Tuna Creations ones, right? Because they have some flavor. They taste better to me. But if you look again, they're wild caught on a lot of them. Okay, so if you check the labels, okay, and really, you know, good source of protein, nice little snack, and they last a long time. Like you can grab a handful of these and keep them in your cupboard or whatever, and they're not going to go bad. Okay, so good little protein snack there. All right, guys, we did have a question about peanut butter, and I wanted to stop here and talk about some of that. Okay, I also think it's a good thing to point out that there's a lot of other nut butters that you can use, right, in your meals or in your snacks that you guys are, you know, maybe craving. I get the peanut butter addiction, right? I love good peanut butter like Reese's Cup, but just again, read the labels, okay? If you actually read these labels here, here's like some 3 different ones, right? And I was talking to Alex, and he's like, I put this one in my protein shake, right? But if you like look at this Jiffy, right? As far as the servings and all this stuff go, it's really not that bad as far as sugar goes. Okay, the problem is how much servings do you want? A lot of people always want, you know, it's not just one spoonful, it's like gobs of peanut butter, right? Now, again, if you look at this one, all right, it's gluten-free, it's vegan, it's also sweetened with coconut palm sugar and not just regular sugar. Okay, if you look at something like this one, which is from RX Bar, right, we used to sell their bars at the gym. You know, it has a lot of additional stuff in it. It's got peanuts, it's got half a date, it's got an egg white, it's sweetened with honey. And again, you can see that right there on the ingredients: peanuts, egg whites, dates, coconut oil, but honey, cinnamon, sea salt, and natural flavors are the additions. Okay, but some of these are great snacks. I know, like just speaking like about hunting or something like that, right? A lot of times when you're doing stuff where you need some more calories, these are like these little packets here, great little additions for a snack. Maybe not something I would get in the habit of doing all the time every day, but you know, these are great for you pack in the backcountry and take with you. But again, just my advice with any of these nut butters, right, is I use a lot of like more almond butter than peanut butter, but is just use them like I would say to eat, like if you eat nuts. You know, the problem with nuts is they're salty and people start eating them, and then next thing you know, 1 handful turns into 2 handfuls and 3 handfuls, right? Same thing kind of goes here. It's just a little goes a long way. It's not that you have to avoid them, right? Just be cautious with it and don't overdo it. All right, I want to stop real quick in the seasoning section to talk about salt. Okay, salt's a huge thing that people aren't getting enough of. You'd be surprised, right? Again, that kind of goes back onto the red meat thing. People saying, oh, salt and red meat, you know, it's creating heart issues. So what we're going to tell you guys right now is to not necessarily avoid it completely, right? To include it in your meals. It actually helps a lot with electrolytes and hydration. You'd be shocked, right? And people say, oh, like they want that Gatorade, right? Well, the Gatorade's sure it's got a lot of salt, but it's also have a ton of sugar. So you could just put some salt. You know, at the gym we put salt in your guys' protein shakes. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. But we sprinkle a lot of this, just like a pink Himalayan sea salt, right? That's typically a little bit better. Some of the white table salts you'll see have other things in them. They're not as good. Okay, the biggest thing though, if you were to just switch to this stuff, is you need to make sure you guys are getting like a good source of iodine still somewhere else, right? Because that is the one thing table salt provides for most people, is that iodine, and it's important for you to make sure you have enough iodine in your body. So there's other ways to get iodine besides salt, but you have to make sure you do some research on that and keep up with that. Make sure, because your thyroid and some other things need that iodine. This again, I just want to talk about some things. The biggest thing is like, never try to tell you guys not to eat certain things, right? Because then it seems like once you get told you can't have it, you always want to have it. And I don't want to sound like we never eat these things, but these are kind of like treats, or they're getting used for specific reasons, right? A big thing I eat a lot in the mornings, if I'm going to work out in the morning, is oatmeal, right? Because I want those carbs pre-workout. I want to make sure that I'm getting enough fuel for my workout, and carbohydrates are a great way to do that, right? And something quick like oatmeal is easier to digest, right? Sure, it tastes good, all that stuff too. So just, again, I'm not eating, like on the days I train in the afternoon, right? I don't get up and eat a bowl of oatmeal. I get up and eat some eggs or something like that. Some protein and some fruit. I don't eat, you know, a processed carbohydrate. Because I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's because it's frozen, it's poor quality. That's not always true either, right? A lot of times those vegetables that we were talking about over there, sure, they're fresh, but they don't last as long, right? Nutrient-wise, frozen preserves very well. So frozen fruit and frozen vegetables are both very good for you to get your nutrients in. So yeah, again, just don't avoid this aisle. Just make sure, again, it's simple things like this, you know, it's cheesy, that one's rice and broccoli, right? Or it's lightly sauced. I would say buy the ones that are not sauced and season them yourself. In the frozen meat section real quick, because this is also another good section, especially again living here. If you look through here, we talked about some of those main things, right? If you look in this, if you were to look in this case, a lot of these things are saying, right, wild caught and all this stuff, they're still good, they're just frozen, right? So obviously it's not maybe as good tasting as fresh fish or something like that you're gonna get if you live closer to like a coast, right? But these are still great options for you guys. Okay, again, it's mixing it up and getting the variety in, right? Talking about, again, like how much, right? A lot of times people out here aren't getting enough omega-3s in their diet. Fish is a great source for that. They're getting a lot of omega-6s and stuff. So don't just eat red meat all the time. Don't eat chicken all the time. Don't eat, you know, fish all the time. Mix it up, right? The biggest thing, again, is kind of like the fruits and vegetables. We talked about getting the whole rainbow of colors, right? Here you want to get a wide variety of meats as well. They have a lot of different micronutrients, and they're all good sources of protein. So we stopped here in the cheese section. Okay, want to talk about something. Again, this is kind of like the nuts and stuff, right? Is cheeses can be super good for you. They got a lot of protein, you know, good source of calcium, that type of stuff. But you need to make sure that you're eating, just making sure the quantity is appropriate, right? It's kind of one of those things that's easy to go overboard on, really easy to kind of just like put on everything, really get carried away with. Okay, so just be smart with your cheeses. Alex was just talking to me about how, you know, they use string cheese as a good snack throughout the day, and they're using the, you know, fat-free string cheese, right? That's a good snack, again, but they're not eating like 4 cheese sticks, right? I just know some people are really big cheese heads, right? They could eat cheese all the time. They love all the different cheeses. They want to, you know, they could just kind of keep shoving them down. So just make sure you're careful with it, okay? But like I said, it's good for you to eat. You know, cheddar, I guess a good cheddar is actually real healthy and good source of calcium, right? But just, again, look at the stuff they're trying to get you guys into, right? Taco Bell sells their cheese because supposedly they have, that's why their Taco Bell's so good, right? That's funny to me. Stopped here in the kind of like the butters and yogurt section here. Okay, show you guys some of this stuff. Okay. I get a lot of these, like a lot of people aren't necessarily maybe a fan of the Greek yogurt, but the Greek yogurt's truly going to be what's the best for you. We use this one at our house and at the gym in our shakes. This is 5% for right? It's a great source of protein, right? 18 grams of protein. There's only 6 grams of sugar in there. You know, some of these other ones, you just got, again, yogurt's that one they kind of sneak a lot of stuff into. I was just looking at this one here, right? This is one I've seen like my parents buy, other people buy, right? You flip that little snack deal in there and it goes in there, but that right there had 17 grams of sugar, which is more than what we were looking at on a serving size of the cereal that we were talking about earlier. So again, just be careful. Okay, obviously the Greek yogurt's going to have some other stuff in it, like the probiotics that are really good for your gut. Again, a lot of this boils down to gut health, and just because you put it in your mouth doesn't mean you're actually digesting it the way you need to be digesting it. So, you know, try to get the unflavored Greek yogurts, you know, and some other, like an idea, I know just like Kyler, giving her a shout out. She uses this, like if we have tacos or something for like sour cream, or sour cream's a condiment that we want to put on, you know, a burrito, a taco. We use this instead of actual sour cream, right? Just to where we're getting some more probiotics. It tastes a lot like sour cream, right? We stopped in the egg section again because this is a big one that people have a lot of questions with, right? Is they have a lot of labeling, and now you can see some companies are actually starting to kind of like do everything possible on their package to get them to stand out, because what they actually require for you to have some of these labels is actually kind of ridiculous, right? So just because something says it's maybe range free, you'd be surprised if you looked up what the requirements are for range free. It's like they might have to, don't quote me on these, but like all you have to have out of this huge barn is you know, a small door for that chicken to be able to go outside into a small pen that might not, just to give it some fresh air, right? Versus like, you know, like this company, for example, they put right here on there, right? They have 108 square feet per bird, right? And that's you know, and they talk about, you know, how they get to spend time outdoors and do this stuff, right? Now, if it's organic, there's more, you know, more labels, rules on can it be organic. A lot of that has to do with them being like, if it's organic, you know, free range type stuff, right? There's just more stipulations on what they need to be doing to require. But like for example, on an organic one, if basically means they don't try to jump ahead of anything with antibiotics. But if the chickens get sick, they can still put antibiotics in them if they get sick, and then take it back out once everything's healthy again. But for that time being, that farm won't be able to label their eggs as organic. Okay, so I'll let you guys, if you just do some simple searches, you guys can read into that a little bit more detailed, right? But again, I think some of that does maybe matter, right? I know a lot of it's like basically what they're getting fed. Are they getting fed, stuff that's like bugs and worms naturally on the dirt? Or are they getting fed a chicken feed? Is the chicken feed organic? Is it actually, or is it like other stuff that makes up, chicken's like eggshells and bones that are ground up? So just do your research a little bit on eggs specifically if that's a question for you. I know if we can, right, we always try to get the organic, farm rate or, open range chickens as possible. So all right, so we're here in the milk section. Okay, biggest thing I think with milk is to make sure that you guys are, if you have any lactose intolerance, that you're unable to drink milk, okay, then yes, you can go to other options. But you gotta remember, milk's a good source of carbohydrates, right? It's a good source of protein. It's not something that you should necessarily be avoiding, right? Sure, do you need to drink 4 glasses a day? I don't know, right? But again, it's kind of, everyone's a little bit unique on can they handle milk, can they not handle milk, right? I personally do like milk. Me and Kyler drink Fairlife. One of the reasons is I think I am a little bit sensitive to it if I overdo it, and they put added lactase into that, which is the enzyme that helps break down lactose. Look into any of these milks a little bit more in detail to get on the labels, right? Some of them you'd be surprised, like they have added sugar, they have all this extra stuff. This kind of goes also with, since we're in this section, it's talking about the creamers for your coffee. That's a huge one I know for people, right? A lot of people don't like just drinking black coffee, they want these creamers. So just look, half and half, right? Is that gonna be better than, some of these other ones? And again, some of them are labeled as very healthy, right? Because they're maybe not dairy products, right? And that's fine too. Just make sure you read the labels, right? This one's simply 5 ingredients, right? Well, okay, let's look at the 5 ingredients. You look at the label, yeah, organic coconut milk, water, coconut cream, right? And some other small things. So the biggest thing is you gotta kind of watch the stuff that sneaks up on you, and all those are, condiments, creamers, cheese, nuts, those types of things that people can just like, a little goes a long way. Outside lanes of the pop, and this is kind of part of the outside you probably need to avoid, right? Avoid the pop. The one thing that is good in this aisle is they do carry your sparkling water, and that's a good alternative to pop for you guys that need that carbonation or like the carbonation. Zevia is a good option, right? Because it carries the carbonation. It really tastes like pop, but they're sweetening it with stevia and not sugar. Again, some of those sweet treats, just make sure that you're drinking them and using them kind of like as treats, not necessarily like I'm having 3 Zevias every day, right? So moderation with everything. Of course, if you look, kind of in the health section, they have one little aisle of more healthier bars. So we didn't really talk about, the bars and the snacks, like the granola bar section. We didn't really walk down that aisle or go through that stuff, right? Because there's granola bars over there, but for some reason those bars don't get to be with the chewy chocolate chip bars, right? So just keep in mind that, right, that's a good section over there for you guys that are needing those extra snacks, and need some more macros. All right, guys, so thanks for tagging along if you're still watching. I wanted to just kind of go through the store, talk about some different products and some different items, try to answer some generic common questions. I know food's such a cultural thing, and something you grew up you probably eat very similar to how you were eating or how you shopped when you were a kid with your parents. So just keep in mind some of these things when we're talking, right? And if you have more questions, feel free to hit me up or Kyler up, or really any of the coaches on staff would love to help you with this. If you have any other specific questions regarding food, me and Alex were welcome to do another, video going through the grocery store, answering some of those more in detailed. Again, we'll also add a video maybe we'll link another video to this video about, you know, how to read a nutritional label and go through that. So, all right, thanks for watching.